Welcome to the Terrible Podcast with your hosts from SteelersDepot.com, where you can find all your latest and greatest Steelers news. It's Dave Bryan and Alex Kozora, always lit, talking Steelers. And now, here's Dave and Alex.
Welcome to the Terrible Podcast, Season 13, Episode 130. He's Dave Bryan. I'm Alex Kozora, SteelersDepot.com. Thanks for being back with us here on this Monday, Steelers Nation. Pittsburgh Steelers just wrapped up their 3-day rookie minicamp weekend. Now we wait for any sort of signings and the lay of the land there before the team hits the field again for OTAs in just over a week from now. Dave, how you doing? How's your weekend?
It was good. How much would you pay to see Le'Veon Bell box Vontaze Burfict?
I'll pay as much as I paid for everything Bell boxing so far, which is $0. I'll watch it on Twitter.
I think I'd pay the $79.95 or whatever it is. I haven't paid. Maybe I did pay for one of those Bell fights. I can't remember.
Was it definitely Burfict he was talking about? Because I know Mike Tomlin got so heated when Reggie Nelson took out his leg in that, week 17 game?
Yeah, but didn't Le'Veon Bell come out and say something to the fact that he didn't deem it as a dirty hit?
Okay.
I think we have a post somewhere in the archives. I think even it was linked to maybe in that Josh post there. It seems like I remember that Ali, I mean, obviously his mind could have changed, but I seem to remember that he said something to the effect that he didn't view that as dirty or blame Reggie Nelson for that. But
give the context for those that don't know what we're talking about. What's the context with what Le'Veon Bell said last night?
Yeah, he was evidently on a boxing show, and they asked in so many words, "Is there anybody you'd kind of like to get into the ring with?" And he said, well, not really so much into boxing, anybody you'd like to whoop up on. And he didn't come out and say Vontaze Burfict, but he said, football player, try to purposefully injure me, and Steeler fans will know who I'm talking about. Well, I don't think you have to be a rocket surgeon to kind of figure that one out. He didn't come out and say Burfict, but I think I took it as him meaning Burfict and that play back in, what was it, 2014, 15, where along the sideline, and it's kind of one of the, I guess it ended up going back and watching it again, almost like one of those hip drop tackles, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's a good point.
Kind of got him from behind and pulled him down that way, and the knee got trapped, and once again it was on the sideline there, and I think someone came in and hit him on at the same time that happened there. But anyway, it made for an interesting near midnight social media post that Le'Veon Bell floated out there. So Burfict, there's probably a lot of players on the Steelers that would like to ex-Steelers that would like to get in the ring with Vontaze Burfict.
Yeah, let me get David DeCastro in there. Remember that goal line play running him into the ground. So yeah, it makes sense.
Rosie Nix, he tried to kick Nix in the head, and I bet Vince Williams would like to break off a piece of it as well too.
Right. So maybe I would pay if all those Steelers were getting in the ring against Vontaze Burfict. But yeah, you're probably right. Bell was likely talking about Burfict, just given the reputation that Burfict has as, at the time in his career, the league's dirtiest player. So that makes sense. I just want to mention two pieces of news that made me sad that I'm going to vent it out here this weekend. My Phoenix Suns getting just destroyed in the playoff game. Monty Williams getting fired. I love Monty Williams. I understand why the firing occurred. And then you're out there in Vegas, so this probably relates to you. Well, Doyle Brunson passing away at I think well over the age of 90. He was I grew up a big poker guy. Don't play really that much anymore, but Doyle Brunson was like one of those dudes that I watched all the time on 1 a.m. They show poker events. Yeah. And that was like my dude. So that was some sad news.
Yeah. And it's obviously, dominating out here on the TV news and obviously in the papers and all like that. He was the face of poker for several years, especially when it was more underground on the late night cable channels and all like that as well too. And yeah, your Suns. I think a lot of people don't. I mean, obviously, I don't pay a lot of attention to the NBA except around playoff times. But even then, I'd much rather watch the hockey playoffs. But it seems like the reaction to that is they should have kept him as the head coach. Is that the way you feel?
It seems mixed. I think the general consensus from Suns fans are we loved Monty, we love what he built, but he couldn't get this team over the hump, and so they're going to look for something else. But grass is not always greener, and so you wonder about who they're going to go try to replace him with.
Well, the grass looks to be green in Pittsburgh this past weekend at the UPMC Rooney Sports Complex, right? And, had the rookie mini camp, and that's now in the books. And boy, only 5 first-year players attended that. And one of those being, we'll talk about one of them here in a little bit in Master Teague, but obviously guys like, they got to change these rules up, right? Guys like Calvin Austin III not able to participate in that. It ought to be something along the lines of any player that has not been active for a game. Make it something like, 6 or something like that. If you have been active for more than 6 games or something like that, then you can't participate in it. But the rules, are the rules right now, and that kind of stuff prevented guys from Calvin Austin III who probably really could have benefited from that weekend there to kind of get a jump start on OTAs and all like that this offseason due to his knee injury there. But yeah, only 5 first-year players were evidently in attendance for that because of the NFL rules. Those players, by the way, were Scott Nelson, who obviously was on the practice squad last year, Chris Wilcox, a cornerback, Master Teague, William Dunkel, who was on the practice squad last year, a guard, and Rodney Williams, a tight end, that long tight end kind of thin frame out of UT Martin, and I think he was on the practice squad for a little bit last year. And the rest were obviously the draft picks, the undrafted players, and, man, a slew of tryout players.
33 tryout guys, which is a pretty high number. Usually it's about 20 to 25, but with the smaller undrafted class, and you're right, only a couple first-year players, it really was the tryout guys that made the bulk of this rookie minicamp weekend. Before we talk about those guys and one potential signing, let's talk about some other signings, things that we know for sure have occurred in terms of a couple draft picks, several draft picks signing in, 7th-round pick Corey Trice Jr., 7th-round pick offensive lineman Spencer Anderson, Darnell Washington, Nick Herbig. I believe that's everybody that's signed a contract, right? So those 4 names have all inked officially their rookie deals.
Yes, and 6 of the 7 announced undrafted free agents obviously have agreed to deals. There was one, the center out of Iowa State, right? That ended up being a no-show for whatever reason. Wasn't he the one that was considering going back to farming?
Yes, Trevor Downing from Iowa State. There was that. He also dislocated his kneecap in January in the NFLPA bowl game. So I'm guessing there's probably a health component where he just couldn't medically get cleared either.
Yeah, and I meant to go back and look at this I don't think he was on the official list of signings, though. I know 6 of them were because the team announced 6 of those, right?
Right. He was on the agreed to whenever the draft ended, but obviously he never got to the point where he actually signed his contract.
Right. Now, I don't know if that means it's still forthcoming. Maybe once he passes a physical or something, maybe it might be related to that. I'm trying to find the date on this real quick. I'm having trouble doing it. But regardless, he's not official while the other 6 are, I believe.
Right. So you got the 4 draft picks that have signed, which only leaves Broderick Jones, Joey Porter Jr., and Keanu Benton. Benton should be, I think, fairly easy, fairly quickly to get done. Jones and Porter maybe have a couple more layers to it, but obviously with the rookie slotting under these new CBAs, those deals will get done sooner than later.
Yeah, here I found the official release from the NFL here, and it shows, Bird, Morgan, Tanner Morgan, James Naya Moa, David Perales, Monty Pottebaum, and BT Potter. Those are the guys that are officially signed at this point. And when it comes to, I think they'll obviously, they're 2 second rounders there in Joey Porter Jr. and Keanu Benton. Benton's both those guys' contracts are likely to include the first 2 years fully guaranteed in that. So there might be some language things that have to get worked out there. I would expect before too long we'll hear about both those guys signing their rookie deals, and then we'll have to see how long it takes with Broderick Jones. There's not too much, obviously to have to work through, because where his slot is, it calls for all 4 years to be fully guaranteed based on history, and it's not close enough to that 20th or wherever that kind of that line in the sand is that both sides usually try to push every year. So all these guys will be signed, sealed, and delivered, should be easily by the time obviously training camp rolls around.
One name who might have been signed along with those draft picks this weekend, and we're waiting for the Steelers to confirm, hopefully we'll find out more later on Monday, is rookie running back Alfonso Graham from Morgan State. He tweeted Sunday afternoon that he had signed with the Pittsburgh Steelers. That has not been made official by the team, but right now we'll take his word for it. And so he was a rookie back that rushed for over 1,100 yards last year at Morgan State. And smaller guy, 5'9", $180, but apparently impressed enough to give this team additional running back depth throughout the summer.
Yeah, and I think Josh Carney has a film room now coming up on him either today or tomorrow, and had his share of explosive runs. They're more of a scat back, obviously, and can catch the football out of the backfield there. And Mike Tomlin said over the weekend, what was it, Saturday, I think, that looking to possibly do business with some of these HBCU and XFL guys. So I think today's the 15th, so that today's after 4:00 today, I think they can sign, guys like Hakeem Butler and all that if they wanted to, right?
Yeah, so I assume there'll be more signings following Graham. Right now, if you include Graham, they're at 86, which means there's 4 spots open. We'll have to see what happens to Hakeem Butler. Obviously, not part of rookie minicamp. Was that just a plan? Did something change? We'll get our answers hopefully sooner than later. You got a couple other XFL guys in there. I imagine they're going to sign that tackle, Chidi Okoke, unless he really struggled throughout rookie minicamp. This team needs an additional, at least one more offensive tackle, probably 2, as you've talked about. And he's got some experience and he's got size and length this team covered. So would not be surprised for him to get signed. Maybe a 4th quarterback, Bryce Perkins being in camp. That would make sense as a veteran-ish, a guy that's been in an NFL game, started an NFL game last year. That'd be a quality number 4 type of ad. So there's a couple names there to watch out for.
All right. We should have some more to talk about when it comes to the transaction wire on the next show then.
Yeah, hopefully that's my expectation of things right now. Beyond that, what are your other impressions of rookie minicamp? Obviously, you're not really doing much from an evaluation standpoint. We're not there, obviously. You're just hearing some of these guys talk. Did any of the rookies say stick out to you, Dave?
Not overly, and obviously not being there and seeing it. I mean, I thought Broderick Jones said all the right things during his media session. That look, I'm not worried about the starting left tackle job as much as I am just getting better every day. And I'm paraphrasing there. Darnell Washington, is good to hear him talk about how he's just concentrating on, doing what they ask him to do. And if that means being, a pass catcher, that's what he'll do. But he knows that in so many words that, he's being brought in to block too. So not too much. I think Spencer Anderson, I think there's an article from Teresa Varley up on Steelers.com this morning. Some of the quotes that he had, and, just re-emphasizing that, the conversations that he had with the Steelers, I guess pretty much on draft night there, was the fact, they really liked his versatility. And this is a guy that, once again, I mean, you go back over the 5 seasons, and he didn't play much, I don't think, that first season there. But even so, I mean, he's logged snaps at all 5 positions along the offensive line. While at Maryland, I'm looking at the list I cobbled up from Pro Football Focus: 29 snaps at left tackle, 43 at left guard, 381 at center, 819 at right guard, and 1,098 at right tackle for Spencer Anderson during his college career at Maryland.
Yeah, because I know the Steelers Instagram account a week or so ago, they still have never released the Mike Tomlin, Omar Khan draft calls from their end of things, but they released them from the player side of things. And you could hear on the Anderson call when Mike Tomlin spoke with him, the first thing, or one of the first things he said to him was, "We love your versatility, bring that can-do attitude to us because we're going to utilize that." And I don't know how much of that happened in rookie minicamp. Probably not a lot, because you're trying to build a foundational level of guys getting used to one spot and how practices work and, how these things get run. But he's a guy that this team is going to rely on and ask to move around quite a bit. When I watched this guy on tape, and you mentioned this as well, I thought he had really good feet, really quick feet to change directions, to mirror, to redirect. And although he lacks that ideal length to play tackle, I think he probably could if you had to in a backup emergency type situation, because this guy's got really good feet to stay square and stay in front and pass pro.
Kind of I was thinking about this the other night, kind of a Chris Hubbard with better feet.
Yeah, I like that, because Hubbard wasn't the biggest guy and he wasn't the most punishing run blocker, but he was, fairly athletic, I guess, and obviously could play the entire, front 5.
And, it's way too early to kind of project what this means. We have to obviously put our own eyes on him. He's going to have to stay healthy. And I think he talked about his IQ over the weekend. And look, if you can somehow get this guy to stick, maybe not necessarily even this year, but next year, to have that uber versatile guy, I mean, that can make a difference in roster construction by one.
Sure. I mean, the guys he's competing with really don't have that hyper versatility. I mean, Kendrick Green, not to that degree. We know him at guard is really not practical. Kevin Dotson has just been a guard throughout his career. Ryan McCollum has a bit more at center, and he's got a guard background more in college, but nobody really has that 5-spot flexibility that Anderson brings, that he'll be fighting for a spot with this summer, and that's going to give him an advantage.
Right. Going to be interesting to watch his progress the rest of the way.
And I believe Josh just mentioned that Graham Film Room is going to go up here in just a little bit. So probably by the time people are listening to this, the Alfonso Graham report goes up. And again, we assume that he's been signed, not official by the team, but hopefully that news will come in later today. So any other impressions of rookie minicamp? I'm trying to think about mine in terms of what I heard. I liked your, I was kind of following along with you on your Twitter account, Dave, and just watching, in drills, Joey Porter Jr. and then Corey Trice Jr., just glued to the hip, back to back in drills. And yeah, they got similar makeup, similar body types, and they're kind of fun to watch, run around.
Yeah, it's another thing that's way too early to kind of speculate. But man, what you can't help but think, what if those guys can become your outside guys for the next 3.5 years? Big, physical, long corners like that. I mean, you obviously have Patrick Peterson in the fold right now, and we'll see how long that lasts. But to think that there's a possibility that maybe you were able to come away from this draft with some future starting corners for the next, once again, 2.5, 3.5, whatever, years is exciting. And you look at those two side by side and the way they move, almost like twins, especially the way their kind of build is there overall. So, and I think Trice kind of made it clear over the weekend that he's got a chip on his shoulder. And, obviously Joey Porter Jr.'s got a big one on his shoulder right now. It's projected to be obviously a first-round draft pick and sliding to the top of the second round there. And didn't Omar Khan say in so many words that they had about a dozen people calling for that spot at 32?
Yeah, he had said 8 to 9. And so I know we've kind of mentioned this quite a bit, but the story, we kind of get more details each time Khan talks to somebody. So tons of calls for that pick at 32, and Khan said, we probably would have traded that pick had Porter not been there, and because he was there, did not want to potentially risk losing him, and so that's why they stayed at 32, which tells you how much they like this guy, and probably means they probably would have taken him at 17 had they not moved up if they liked the guy that much. But that's how it all played out on Friday night.
I guess something else kind of talk about coming out of rookie minicamp, and we hit on this just earlier in the show, and I wrote about it a couple of days ago. There, kind of staring at that minicamp roster. There is Master Teague. We'll obviously see how some of this post roster shuffling goes now that rookie minicamp is over. But I mean, there's no really even with the adding Graham, that he's a different body type, different kind of back. So I wouldn't think that he would be one that would threaten Master Teague's roster spot. So assuming Master Teague, makes it to the next stage, which is obviously OTAs, and kind of looking back at what happened last offseason with him. He was brought in right after, I think, the start of training camp, and kind of hit the ground running, if you will. And you fast forward into that first preseason game, I think he had something like 10 carries for like 33 yards and a long of, I don't know, what was it, 8 or something. I think the most glaring thing looking back at that game book specifically from that preseason game that was against the Seahawks, I think, was the fact that he didn't play on special teams. And we probably talked about that at the time there, or at least throughout the preseason there. But upon his arrival, and it might have been something to the effect too that he probably wasn't in town too terribly long. But here's the thing with Master Teague, and especially with it looking like this team's not going to bring back Benny Snell Jr. This offseason, and Master Teague did he did obviously suffer, an ankle injury there after that first preseason game, and was waived and then reverted back to IR and then waived from IR with an injury settlement. But he did circle back to the practice squad late in the season there. So they obviously were attracted to him in that area, or else he wouldn't have circled back like that, I don't think, later on this season. And then they obviously signed him to a futures contract back in January here. Long story short, I mean, it really feels, at least at this point in the offseason, that he's got a golden opportunity here moving forward into the summer. If he can stay healthy, because he had his share of kind of injuries there at Ohio State. So that, can't make the club in a tub. And then second is, he needs to become a special teams asset. Ideally a 4 teams guy, if that's possible, like kind of, Benny Snell was able to do there. But if he can become a 2 or 3 teams guy, that will help strengthen. He's got that bigger build. He's more of a, bigger bruising back, type of running back there. But it just sets up really well for him, I think, overall. And that was the point I was trying to make in the post there, that, if he can stay healthy and if he can show anything on special teams moving forward, and if this team doesn't go out and get a more experienced back, he's got probably a pretty decent chance of making this 53-man roster closer to September.
I'm with you, Dave. That number 3 running back spot in Pittsburgh is wide open right now, and Teague is built the way that Pittsburgh likes him. He's big, he's strong, he's physical, he's powerful. So to me, the big question is twofold. A, can he catch a bit and block a little bit? And B, can he play on special teams, as you mentioned? And you just didn't get the exposure to him last year because he got signed, and then he had that good first game against Seattle, then breaks his ankle probably days later. I don't remember the exact timeline, but right around there. So never got the chance for him to get more involved in the process and follow up. But yeah, he's a tough dude. I remember when he hurt his ankle, he tried to keep playing. Like, he was limping, obviously, and the dude could not play, and he was still trying to go back to the huddle because he knew, how much this opportunity meant to him. And unfortunately, his season was basically cut short from there until he came back late in the season. But yeah, I mean, if not Teague as a number 3, who is your number 3 running back? McFarland? Did one of these other guys, Jason Huntley, emerge? I mean, potentially, but I think Teague's got as good shot as anybody right now.
Yeah, and you go back to his college days with Master Teague. He didn't, because of the injuries and because of his progression into becoming, one of their, I guess, quasi starters, because they had a couple of guys carrying the football for him back then and all. But I think you got to go back to his first couple of years to really find any special teams activity with him. And I think even in 2018 or 17, one of those years, I think he had 3 or 4 special teams tackles. So it's not a foreign concept to him at all. It's just, he never really got a chance to kind of refine that and become a special teams demon before he became, more of a guy that, we got other guys that can do that. He's going to carry the football.
Right. And Danny Smith still has to sign off on a guy like that, in the sense of, proving what he can do at this level. Might have done something in college, but that was years ago. You got to do it at this level as well. But the dude looks great. Like, he's super rocked up, should be in good shape, should be highly conditioned. Getting to be in this rookie minicamp weekend gives him a small leg up to just get reacclimated. Hasn't, gotten to be on a field in a while. So that's going to give him an advantage, a small one, but an advantage over these other guys as well. So that's certainly a name that I'll be watching, fairly closely come the summer.
Yeah, me as well. And hopefully he stays on the roster. And hopefully once we get into, obviously you at training camp, and then once the preseason games start, hopefully this is a guy that we're saying, Master Teague, 18 special team snaps, right. That kind of thing. And once again, I don't remember the reasoning behind it, because it felt like he was on the roster long enough at the time. I had to go back and look, were they punting or kick, what the reason was. But I was a bit surprised. Look back, I guess I just didn't remember that he didn't play any special team snaps in that one preseason game that he played in last year.
Right. How long had he been on the camp roster before that game? How long was he even in town? Because he got signed midway through, because he had all the injuries there to Snell and Najee getting hurt, right?
I think he sign on like the 2nd or 3rd of August, and
the 3rd.
And then the first preseason game, when was that?
Probably a week or so later.
Let me pull up the preseason dates on that.
Because he got waived on the 18th. It was August 13th, so 10 days after being in Pittsburgh was his first game.
Yeah, and that felt enough time to at least get on 1 or 2 special teams units,
Yeah, that's probably fair. But, I mean, it was a big 90-man roster, and you got other guys that have already been there and done stuff since OTA, so it's a fair concern, something to watch for. You don't want the Tuzar Skipper-itis, where he really looked good on his side of the ball but didn't play on special teams. You're going to have to do that in Pittsburgh, especially as the number 3 running back. It's not going to see anything offensively unless somebody gets hurt. But, I mean, just from a, what he can do on his side of the ball standpoint with the number 3. Because, listen, and I made mention of this before, yes, the number 3 running back in Pittsburgh currently has no role offensively, but all it's going to take is one injury to Najee or Warren, which is likely to happen over the course of a 17-game, 18-week season, for that number 3 running back to probably have some important role offensively, to see some sort of time there. So given how dedicated Pittsburgh is to the run game this year, they better make sure they have something at number 3, because Harris goes down, Warren goes down. You're going to need more than one guy in that backfield.
Yeah, I agree. So I don't know how many people had us talking about Master Teague for 12 minutes on the Monday podcast here, but here we are. But I think it's worth, at least, we won't mention him probably many more times throughout until we get into training camp and all. But it is worth. I think he's a guy just to put in the back of your mind to think about, guy that could be on the 53-man roster to come out of this rookie minicamp.
Sure, but I think even panning out, I think that number 3 running back spot is going to be more important, because if this was, if you had Big Ben on your team and he was in your prime and you had to change gears, you would not be a run-first offense to start. And if you had to ask him to throw 40 times a game, you can do that, and they've done that, and you could win that way. With Kenny Pickett, that's not your model. That's not how you want to operate. So if you have some running back injuries, you still want to stay committed and strong and have that run-focused, run-first approach. And so you better find some guys that, can step up. And that happened briefly last year in that Colts game when Snell stepped up, when McFarland stepped up. But if there's a longer term thing, I would not hate if this team added a veteran, because I still feel like their depth there at running back is kind of poor, because McFarland's not going to be that guy. The other guys, the future contract guys, probably won't be that guy. It's Teague, and it kind of feels like Teague is the only real option right now.
Right. I would agree. All right. Speaking of offense and surrounding Kenny Pickett with, proper personnel, you wrote about something that you're looking forward to that kind of gets me excited reading this as well, too. Big empty.
Yeah, talk about cold showers. I need one after writing this article. And I mentioned this a little bit, I think, on Friday's show and kind of expanded my thoughts for the article Monday on the site. It's sticky at the top of the page. But, the idea of come out in heavy personnel, your 13 personnel, let's say it's Najee, Pat Freiermuth, Darnell Washington, and Connor Hayward, and spread the field and go empty and just pick apart matchups. That's going to keep defenses in their base defense and allow you to, have some real weapons on the outside, because in past years, when Pittsburgh would occasionally try this, it does not work well in the passing game when Derek Watt and Zach Gentry are flexed out. And the stats prove that. I had Tom Mead send over empty stats last year. I believe this is at a big personnel, and they were had a quarterback rating of 49.3 in those empty packages. And it just did not, or empty formations, I should say. So it just was not effective last year. But now you have real weapons in Washington, and of course, Freiermuth, Harris can catch, and Connor Hayward's a real asset in the passing game. So this is not a thing you do all the time, but it's a changeup. It's a mix-up. It's going to be where you get 5 yards on 1st and 10, you get 6 yards on 2nd and 4 to move the sticks. I think this can be a really big weapon for Pittsburgh in, a time where this was always and has always been used against the Steelers, and they've always kind of struggled with it. But now you can kind of flip that script on opposing teams.
And look, the people that you named off in that grouping as well too. If you need to, you can collapse that down.
Oh yeah, you can mix and match. I mean, you can come out heavy in one play and then spread them out the next play.
Right, and basically work off of what the defense puts out there on the other side. So they really need to. Matt Canada, one of the several things that he needs to do this year is become more formationally and personnel package challenging for opposing defenses.
Yeah, and there should be greater flexibility to do that this year, because there is more talent, there is more weapons, and you can run 11 with Johnson and Pickens and Robinson. You can go heavier. I mean, you can really mix and match things well. What Calvin Austin can bring in terms of the different motions and the wrinkles you can use with him. This is, again, it's not going to be a high-powered 35-point-a-game type offense, but it certainly has all the pieces in place to be far better than it has been the last several seasons.
Yeah, at least move the chains, right? And hopefully, obviously, you can create some explosive play. More, you need to, and we got a great post coming up about from Clayton today on explosive plays and differentials and all like that. Some great charts to go along with it. So make sure if you're listening, you get by the site later on today to check out that post there. But yeah, look, you don't have to twist my arm, and I think kind of what we're hearing so far is that we're going to see more heavier packages this year.
Yeah, I mean, obviously the way they're building this thing is to run first, and impose our will is the phrase that Andy Weidel used. But and again, obviously, because defenses respond to what the personnel is. So when they see 13 personnel, 1 running back, 3 tight ends come out on the field, they're going to be in their base defense. Defenses have to be in their base defense when you have big Darnell Washington coming out there. And so you're going to put linebackers on him. You're going to walk these guys out. You're going to put run defenders, run down guys in space where they're far less comfortable. And that's going to, if you want to play zone coverage against that, you're going to pick apart zone. If you want to play man, Pittsburgh has the weapons and athleticism in Freiermuth and Harris and Hayward and Washington. And you still have a receiver out there too. You're going to have at least one receiver in 13 personnel to be able to win those matchups too. So I think it's a real effective formation that Pittsburgh can use. And you can go tempo, you can go heavy and collapse it down, and then go empty the next play and mix and match. That's what the Browns have done for years against Pittsburgh, and it's always worked well against them. Pittsburgh now has the weapons and the personnel to be able to do that to opposing teams.
All right, good post. Got me excited this morning.
All right, Dave, anything else? It's a pretty quiet Monday. Wrapping up rookie minicamp. I know there's a bunch of signings occurring around the league right now. I imagine Pittsburgh will probably join that soon. So I'm guessing 8 seconds after the podcast ends, they'll sign their final 4 spots.
I know Monty Pottenbaum talked to the media, but they haven't released any. If there's
it's all mullet related.
Yeah, that probably just all mullet questions. But I was kind of looking forward to hearing more from him, and maybe we will, and maybe there were some actual football questions in there as well too. But he is a guy that he's one of the undrafted guys, and I really can't wait to see, and hopefully he sticks around. But once preseason gets underway, that guy just looks, and you look at his tape and kind of his mentality. Obviously, the look with he just comes off like he would, and obviously out of Iowa, quintessential kind of fullback guy.
Yeah, so I mean, he's an old school lead blocker, and he can play on special teams. So I think he'll at least be fun to watch. Obviously, the path to stick on the 53 will be tough, but if this team wants to be heavy, they may want to carry a fullback on the practice squad just in case somebody goes down. So, there's still a path for him, even if it's not necessarily going to be, making the team for week 1.
All right. I don't think we have too much more to talk about. We're coming out of this rookie minicamp, and OTAs are a week from tomorrow?
Yeah, I think the 23rd is the first day of OTAs.
All right. And we obviously have we can supplement this a little bit because we'll have a YouTube live stream question and answer session later on tonight there. So I guess with that, we can get to a few reader emails, huh?
Right. Let's get to some emails and close out today's show.
All right. Let's start here with Cody Harris from Friday here. It says, longtime listener, and I'm pleased to announce I'm lucky enough to be headed to my first ever Steelers game, season opener against the 49ers. I'm bringing my buddy who's a diehard Niners fan, so he's hoping to ruin his trip with a Steelers win. He says, my question is, what are the absolute must-have restaurants, eat at, things to do while I'm here? He says he's never been to Pittsburgh before. He's from scorching heat of Arizona. He'll be staying right at the stadium at the Landing Hotel Casino for 5 days. Just figured he'd ask. So what are some of the things he's got to get to the Heinz? We went to the Heinz Center, right?
Yeah, the Heinz History Museum is really cool. Ride the incline for sure. Go up there to Mount Washington. In terms of the best places to eat, I'm probably not the most well versed. Honestly, I don't get down to Pittsburgh to eat.
You gotta go take in Permane Brothers, though, right?
Yeah, I mean that's the classic for sure. So that's kind of the free space on the Pittsburgh visit bingo card. But yeah, definitely the incline, definitely Mount Washington. I don't know, just walk around some. I mean, it's a easily walkable town. If the weather's going to be good, then it's fun to get out and about. So yeah, I think you'll have a good time.
Probably go see PNC and maybe watch a Pirates game, right? Around that time.
Yeah. What day did he say that he was getting
the 49ers game. So baseball's still going on in early September, right?
Right. Although I guess Pirates are going to be on the road that time around, right? Because that's why Pittsburgh's getting the home game this year. So, but depending on how long he stays, maybe.
Right. If he stays, because don't they come back on that Monday or something like that?
Yeah, I'm not. Maybe I'd have to go back and check the schedule. I'm not quite sure.
Well, we're not great tour guides, Cody, but sorry about it. I'm obviously not from there. I've only been there twice, and Alex, Alex doesn't get out much either.
I've only been there twice too. No. But yeah, the incline for sure is always you'll have a good time with that.
Hook up Cody, DM David O at Subburger on Twitter. David can line up. David would be the perfect guy to lay out an itinerary for you there.
For sure.
Let's see here. I think maybe we hit. No, maybe we didn't. Joseph Thomas writes in, hi, David Otts. Can you break down why the slot corner position? I think we kind of hit on this, maybe not this specific email, why the slot position requires a different skill set other than outside corner. He says, why couldn't a Wallace or a or Peterson play that role? What traits are they missing? He says, regarding a slot receiver, can we use our tight end depth to help fill this need? He says, Hayward and Muth. He says, while exciting, not very useful blocking, why not put them in the slot more than we did last year? He says, Muth is famous for not missing balls in the end zone, and Hayward is versatile with soft hands. I don't know. This came in 7:06 Friday.
Maybe I think we had answered the slot corner part. I remember that. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't remember the tight end part, but yeah, I mean, they can move these guys around. They're gonna mix and match and flex some of these guys out. So
at least we hope that. Well, yeah. Look, I mean, you can move around most definitely, and detach him and create some mismatches there. And obviously we're all excited to see what Calvin Austin III can bring maybe as a slot player. And you got Allen Robinson III, who's probably going to see a lot of time in the slot. And, you talk about Connor Hayward in here as well too. If there's one thing that we learned about Connor Hayward coming out of his rookie season is he can add value to you in the passing game. And he's got great hands. Obviously, he's a little bit undersized, but I think he makes up for it with his hands and his catch radius.
Yeah. None of those guys are going to be 100%, snap types. Robinson, Austin, Connor Hayward. And so they're going to divvy up that chunk of snaps there between all those guys. And that's where you mix up personnel and formations, and you have your bigger packages, you have your smaller packages, you got a big slot in Robinson, you got a small slot in Austin, you have kind of an H-back, Swiss Army knife in Hayward. There's a lot of different, traits and skill sets those guys have that are unique to each guy that you can really, play that chess game, that matchup game with. And so that's the attractive part, where none of those guys are going to dominate and have elite numbers or be on the field for 60 snaps a game. But if you're getting 20 snaps for one, 15 snaps for the other, 11 for the third guy, and change that week to week based on game plans, that's where you're going to be successful in multiple as an offense. And for this offense, it's not going to be necessarily prolific in terms of having uber talent. You better be multiple and better be able to change things up and win schematically. And of course, Canada's taken a lot of heat for that, but that's going to be the mission for him this year, because there are enough weapons, there are enough pieces in place for this offense to at least be average across the board in a points per game standpoint, hopefully better than that. And you have a lot of different guys that you can win with.
All right. Were we going to do a round table maybe on Friday with some more of these guys?
Yeah, I think that's kind of loosely the plan. So I'm not 100% sure how that's going to look, but we were going to do at least one more draft roundtable with Jonathan and Josh and some of the other guys as well.
All right. Why don't we do this, because it is kind of slowing down with the news cycle. Why don't we, in this time of year, we usually for a couple of weeks go to 2 shows a week. I don't want to say that's definitely going to happen right now, but when it comes to Wednesday, potentially in a show, we're going to play that by ear. Obviously, if we have a lot to talk about, and if the email machine fills up, maybe we'll have another shorter type show, but let's kind of leave that to be determined. We'll definitely have a Friday show at this point, and that may or may not include another roundtable session there. So I just want to kind of give a kind of heads up to everybody, because the new, right now we've got almost I think a full week until OTAs get underway, and I don't think there's going to be a ton happening with the team here over the course of this next week. So we will leave Wednesday to be determined when it comes to a show. We'll definitely have a Friday show, and once again, that may or may not include a roundtable. And then tonight, if you're looking for something to listen to or participate in, Alex and I will be on YouTube, 7 Eastern, right?
Yep, 7 p.m. till 8. Dave and I answering your Steelers questions.
All right, let's leave it at that then. So in the meantime, you can follow me on Twitter at Steelers Depot. Follow Alex on Twitter at Alex_Kozora. Follow the show at Terrible Podcast. Email the show, theterriblepodcast@gmail.com. If you like what we do and want to donate to the cause, SteelersDepot.com. Hit the donate button upper right navigational bar. Also, if you like an ad-free version of SteelersDepot.com, hit the ad-free button upper right navigational bar that way as well too. So in the meantime, to be determined. As always, thanks for listening to the Terrible Podcast with Dave and Alex.